What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Cam, and thank you for tuning into my channel where we talk about life, laughs, and love, and everything in between. Today's a very special day. And why is it today a very special day, you may ask? Well, today's a special day because today is the day I'm recording my first YouTube channel. Round of applause. Thank you. Yeah, I've finally just been able to find that passion, that drive to finally get all of this set up. Praise to the Most High, because it took me a while. I've been contemplating this channel for years on years on years, and I'm doing it, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of just the journey of me even getting here. I want to thank everybody who supported me up until this point, who are still supporting me, and those to come. But let's get into it. On my Instagram channel, I posted a poll on my story. I will be linking my Instagram in the description. So if you want to follow me and you want to get in, interact with me and vote on the topics and things that you want me to react or commentate on, you're more than welcome to. I'm a pretty friendly guy. Don't turn anyone down. As long as you're not on no weird stuff, you're cool in my book. I posted, a poll on my story and gave people, my followers, 4 topics to choose from. And the one that got the most feedback, the most votes, was talking about today's dating culture. Yeah, today's dating culture is pretty wild, especially for my generation. There's a lot to talk about. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, man. But we're going to get right into it. If you want to see more content like this, if you want to be a part of this channel and the growth and just, future endeavors, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you can know when I upload, which will be every Wednesday and Friday around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern time. So today's dating culture, right? If you're like me, you've had your ups and downs with it, man. It's crazy. We live in a society now where everything's digitalized. Everything is, out there for the public to see. We live in a very public society now. And that has its pros and it has its cons. It's not like back in the day where, you actually had to meet a person to get to know them. You actually had to approach people. And, on the flip side, the reason why I say pros and cons, a con to, the society we live in now is a lot of people lack social skills, man. A lot of people lack the ability to just communicate, amongst each other. And that's a big deal because personally, I believe communication is key in any relationship, whether it be friendship, mother, son, father, son, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, any relationship. Communication is a must. And I personally stress it in all of my relationships in life. So the first thing I'll be covering is, you guessed it, communication. Today's dating culture just, again, lacks social intelligence. I mean, people would much rather do the subliminal game, play the subliminal game and kind of, nitpick around things and not address issues head on like they should. And it's a problem because when you're dealing with another human being, I think a concept that people often don't understand or choose not to understand is that nobody can read your mind. If you're with someone, specifically in the sense of relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you can't expect your partner or the person you're dealing with to automatically know what you're thinking. If they do something and it affects you in a negative or positive way, you have to know when to give them that reassurance or give them the information of, hey, you did X, Y, and Z and it affected me this way. It goes both ways, of course. And through my experiences, my most successful relationships have always been based on heavy communication. Now, it goes deeper than just having communication because some people do communicate, but it's about how you communicate. And there's no specific way to communicate amongst each other, you know, in a relationship. It depends on the person you're with, and it depends on the person you are. So if you know you are a person who doesn't take criticism well, which if that is who you are, that's something you should be working on, because everybody should be able to take criticism. Criticism is not a bad thing. I myself have had to learn that, and I'm still learning how to adjust and deal with criticism. But for the most part, I feel like I've come a long way in that area. But to further that point, you have to know who you're dealing with. You know, if, let's say you're a guy and you approach a woman, you know, she's beautiful, she's your type, whatever the case may be. You guys, you know, meet, go on a couple dates, y'all get a little closer, boom, you're in a relationship now. This is the thing. As humans, we often show the best version of ourselves, you know, right off the bat, because, you know, that's the stage where you're trying to impress. You're trying to captivate the person that you are pursuing or being pursued by. So in that sense, there's a lot of things that don't get shown on the surface. And because of that, whenever you get deeper into the relationship, you now find yourself discovering these things about the person that you didn't see off the jump. And a lot of people jump to the conclusion of, oh, you know, they were faking, or, you know, they were hiding this. And that's not always the case. You know, it's our human instinct to, you know, show our best selves when we're first interacting with a person, especially if we're trying to get something out of them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, if you're gonna go that route, see, me personally, I'm, for the most part, completely transparent. Doesn't matter if it's the first time we're talking or the last time we're talking. I try my best to be as completely transparent as possible. But that's just because I'm very confident in who I am, and I feel no shame about any part of me, because I do my due diligence in growing and bettering myself as not only a man, but a human being. And with that being said, I really feel no reason to hide anything or, you know, dial anything down about myself. I'm kind of a this is me, and if you like it, cool. If you don't, cool type of person. And I feel like more people should be like that, but I do understand not everybody is like that. So with that being said, if you're not a person who's like that, it is very key that once you get deeper into the relationship and it starts to develop more, that you have open discussions with people. I think another thing in today's dating culture that honestly needs to be done more is having deep discussions about serious topics. What topics am I talking about? I'm talking about the topics like, what are your views on abortion? I bring that up because I know recently Texas passed their abortion law, and it caused a lot of outrage, primarily amongst women. And that's something you need to talk about with a guy that, you know, you're potentially seeing as someone you want to be with in the future, because you don't want to get to a point where you guys are planning for kids or thinking about having kids, or, you know, accidentally have a kid and you want to get an abortion and he's like, no, I don't like, you know, I don't agree with abortions. And another point to make on this, is also important to understand that it's okay to have an opinion. You have to be able to decipher between opinion and fact. And someone's opinion should never make you mad, unless it's just completely outrageous. But even then, it's an opinion for a reason. You know, it's up to personal perspective and choice. You can't be mad at a person for thinking the way they do, because that's who they are. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like in today's dating culture, that happens a lot, because it's like everybody wants everyone to think like them, see things like them, or they do think that everybody thinks like them and sees things like them. But everybody has a completely different perspective. Everybody lives in their own world. And if you just jump the gun on every debate or discussion on these heavy, deep, you know, significant topics, you're going to find yourself always on the butt end of the stick, because it's like, you're not going to be able to understand that, hey, this person doesn't see eye to eye with me. But instead of seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow, you look at it as a negative, as something to combat or argue or just be done with the person altogether. And I don't think that's right, because a lot of times people have these perspectives and these ideas on certain topics and things, and most of the time don't even realize that you may not even really stand on the point that you think you do. You're only standing on it because of the perspective you have. But when you're open-minded and you open yourself to multiple perspectives and hearing other people's opinions, you realize like what you thought might have been one thing, you now change that and you're kind of on another side. You know, me personally, I'm very persuasive in my style of debating and communicating. And because of that, oftentimes I do get a lot of people that I have these deep discussions with to kind of change their perspective and side with me. And it's not even like I'm going into these discussions with the sole purpose of, oh, I'm gonna make them think like me or get them to agree with me. It's just simply that I'm very comfortable with my ideals, my morals, my values, and my perspective of things, to the point where if I'm gonna discuss them with somebody, I'm gonna discuss the reasons why I think what I think is okay. And it's not really a matter of right and wrong. It's just a matter of, this is how I think. And, you know, I want you to see why I think this way. And, you know, and it's up to you at that point if you want to agree with me or disagree with me. But, yeah, today's dating culture is insane. I guess the second thing I'll touch on is just, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but gender roles. I know gender roles is a huge thing in today's dating culture. A lot of women are so opposed to the term gender roles. And, you know, in all fairness, I can see why. But at the same time, I think everyone has to understand that regardless of your views, your opinions, your perspective on all of this, there are things men are good at, or I should say exceptional at, and there are things women are exceptional at. And that's generally because, of course, not every man is exceptional at every single thing that every other man is exceptional at, and vice versa. But nonetheless, generally speaking, there are things a man does much better than a woman, and there's things a woman does much better than a man. And understanding that will actually help you a lot in today's dating culture, because it will make you understand the fact that when somebody comes to you with a certain view or perspective, it's not coming from a place of misogyny or, you know, just ignorance. It's just coming from a place of them understanding what works best for them. I know whenever I bring up gender roles to the women that I interact with in my personal life, the first thing that usually comes out their mouth is, oh, so a woman is supposed to just cook and clean? And no, that's not my take on gender roles at all. Now, I have my reasons for why I would want my wife to cook and clean. But even with that being said, I'm not saying her only duties are to cook and clean and take care of children. No, I just think it fits a woman more to hold that role, because look, I grew up in a household where my dad cooked, you know, and I love my father's cooking. My mother, she also cooked. But I can tell you now, a meal from my mother just hits different than it does from my father. I love both their cooking. And honestly, I can honestly say my dad is the better cook, or at least he cooks foods that I like more than my mother does. But at the same time, the nuance and the feeling I get from a meal cooked by my mother is just light years above the feeling I get from a meal cooked from my father. And that's not saying I don't appreciate my dad's cooking, because I do. But it's just a certain level of, I guess you could say, love and nurturement in the food that my mom cooks for me versus the food that my dad cooks for me. And it's just little things like that is what makes me be such a strong advocate for gender roles. Gender roles to me doesn't mean you're confined to just that role. It just means you do this role better than I do, so do it. I mean, if I married a woman who wasn't the best cook, which I probably wouldn't, because when I look for women to be with long term, cooking is something that I want my woman to be able to do. So if you don't know how to cook, your chances with me drop drastically. I mean, you can hate me for it or whatever, but that's just how I am. And, you know, I don't feel bad about it. But I myself can cook very well. And that's a fact. Anybody who knows me or has tried my cooking knows I can cook. So it's not like my wife is going to be the only one cooking. It's not like she's going to be the only one cleaning and stuff. I know how to clean. You know, I'm not like most of these dudes out here, you know, don't know how to make a bed, don't know how to wash clothes. I know how to do all those things. That's how I was raised. I was raised to be self-sufficient. I was raised to be able to take care of a household. I'm the oldest of all my siblings. So I've always had a role in my life of taking care, nurturing, keeping the house, upholding the house and keeping it, you know, up to par. And because of that, I do have qualities that I honestly could say a lot of men don't have. But that's not to say that, you know, I don't want to do those things. It's just I would much rather my wife do them because, again, I feel like a woman is better at those things than I am. She will put more into it. She will be able to go further with it than I will, because although I may be good at those things, my mind just doesn't go that deep into it to where I might go the extra mile, you know. But nonetheless, gender roles are very important in my opinion. If you are a person who is against gender roles, I mean, the only thing I would say to you is to maybe try to understand more what gender roles actually is and not what the public misconception of gender roles is, because gender roles is not necessarily saying you're confined to one role. It's just saying you're better at this, so you should be the primary doer of this said role. Again, I mean, it just goes back to most of my women out there. I'm pretty sure you guys can agree, if you're with a guy and someone breaks into the house, you're going to want your man to defend the house. You're going to want him to protect you, right? But imagine if men were like, oh, that's gender roles, I don't agree with that. No, you should be the one protecting the house. Why can't you do it? We're equal. You will look at him like, really, dude? But why is that? That's because factually, men physically are stronger than women. We are more capable of protecting and serving in that sense. And, you know, that's not a knock on women. That's not to degrade or belittle you guys. That's just, it's just what it is. You know, nature is nature. I think these days, a lot of people try to go against nature or, you know, control it and manipulate it to fit their ideal life. But you can't manipulate nature. Nature is nature for a reason, and it will always be nature, and nature wins every time. You know, every time man tries to go against nature, man gets humbled very quick. The third point I would make, though, about today's dating culture, let's see. I'm gonna go on the women's side of things now. Women, beautiful, beautiful women, you guys gotta stop listening to these I don't even know what word to use for it. These just bad sources of information on how to be a woman. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to be a woman, because I'm not a woman, never will be a woman. I don't know. I don't even honestly know what it's like to be a woman, you know. I only know through perspective of seeing women, but outside of that, I don't know. But I will say this. If you're trying to get a man, I am a man, and I do know what men like, or at least generally speaking, I know what I like. And a lot of the things you guys are learning, a lot of the things you guys are practicing and prioritizing are not the things men want. You know, I don't have any problem with a woman pursuing a career, having goals, aspirations, none of that. You guys have came this far to have those things, and I'm glad you guys have these things and these opportunities. But at the same time, a lot of men don't really care. If you're dealing with a man who is really proud to be a man and embraces that role of being a man, he's not going to care too much about your money or your career choice or anything like that. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about it in the sense of supporting you and liking what you're doing. It just means it's not it's not something that he uses to choose his woman. And I think that's where a lot of women in today's dating culture are failing in, is because you guys are prioritizing things that men just simply don't care about. At least not to the extent of choosing you to be his wife. Because a fact that a lot of women, I don't think, understand or have come to terms is that as men, we control your access to marriage. You don't get married unless we marry you. You get what I'm saying? And because of that, I feel like you guys should be doing more research on what men like versus what you want. And I mean that in the sense of, if you're trying to be married, if you're trying to be a wife, a mother, etc. Personally, what I look for in a woman is someone who's nurturing, someone who is empathetic, emotionally intelligent, great communication skills, caring, submissive. Ooh, he said submissive. Yes, submissive. And I say submissive because a lot of women nowadays are very combative, argumentative, and they never want to allow a man to act in his natural role. I hear a lot of women these days complain about how soft men are, and men don't lead and they don't take initiative. And that's because of the culture that you guys have created. This whole culture of, I'm a woman, I can do what I want, I don't have to listen to you, blah, blah, blah. And that very culture, that very mindset has created a culture of men that just don't even know how to handle you guys anymore. It's just like, if she's not going to listen, if she's just going to combat everything and argue everything with me, what's the point? And, shout out to my fellas that still stick to your natural, amenity of being a man. But it's hard for a lot of guys, even the men that do still act on that. It's hard because, you meet so many women, and yeah, she might be beautiful and she may be, driven and ambitious and all these other great things, but you can't even have a conversation with her without it going left. That's not good, guys. Like, it's not. It's just simply not good. So yes, I want a woman who is submissive, a woman who knows when to let me lead. If you want me to be a man and you want me to take control and initiative, you have to be able to sit down and allow me to do that. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. If I do something that hurts you, let me know. But at the same time, allow me to be a man. We live in a society now where, as men, we're not allowed to be men. You're not. The minute you speak on something, express yourself, verbalize an opinion, you're hit with all types of labels and just negative things. And it's crazy. A man can't even say, oh, I feel this way, da da da, without somebody saying, oh, you're misogynistic, oh, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, whatever, label they slap you with nowadays. And that's terrible. It's deteriorating the quality of men in life. It's drastically deteriorating it. And it's part of the reason, if not the main reason, why a lot of you women can't find good guys. Because the guys that were good or are good, they don't even want anything to do with you. They don't even want anything to do with women in general, because it's like, it's a waste of time. There's a reason why so many men on this platform and other platforms are telling men now, don't even get married. Don't waste your time. It's not worth the risk. And it's a shame that in today's culture, we look at marriage as a risk. Marriage shouldn't be a risk. Marriage should be everything opposite of that. It should better you. It should make things easier. And in today's times, that's just not the case. There's so many issues as a man you have to worry about when you're getting with a woman, when you're marrying a woman. That's an investment. And it's sad that we have to even look at marriage as an investment, but that's what it is nowadays. It's an investment. And we all know with investments, there's a high yield to, make a lot out of it. And there's a high yield to lose a lot out of it. And it's just about picking and choosing that battle, you know? And a lot of men nowadays are saying, I'd rather keep everything I got, everything I worked hard for, than to deal with that. And that goes to show a lot, women. That goes to show a lot. But another point I'll touch on, as far as the whole idea that there aren't any good men, or not enough good men going around these days. Most men, especially black men, are raised by their mothers. Me personally, I was not. I was raised by my father, and I'm very grateful for that. But a lot of my male counterparts were not raised by their fathers. And because of that, they have a lot of womanly qualities. They do. You know, they're hyper emotional, argumentative. They lack self-control. They lack discipline. And I'm not saying those are things women do, but they're things that if a woman does, nobody's really gonna harp on you too much for doing it. You get what I'm saying? A lot of these things are qualities. A lot of these qualities are things that men possess nowadays that they really shouldn't be. It's not in a man's best interest to be hyper emotional. When a man is hyper emotional, he acts very irrationally. And that's why you get a lot of these stories of men killing their wives, and men, you know, going to these crazy lengths to prove whatever points they're trying to prove. But it starts, like I said, with that whole mom racing the son dynamic. It's just not good. If you are a mother and you have a son and the father is not present, it is your due diligence to ensure that he has a viable male role model in his life. Because as much as you may think you know how to raise a man or a boy into a man, you don't. Because like I said earlier, I'm not a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I can't tell you how to be a woman. Vice versa. As a woman, there's no really effective way for you to teach a boy how to be a man. The things you're teaching him are only things you see that you like in a man, or you deem valuable in a man, but sometimes that's not always the best, you know, way to go, because everything you may think you like in a man is not things a man should be. You get what I'm saying? And there's no one way to be a man. You know, what works for you may not work for the next guy. But generally speaking, there are certain qualities every man should possess to be his best self. Simple as that. Point 4. I'm gonna get on the men now. Men, we gotta do better. We have to step up. I took my time. I got on the women a little bit, but now it's our turn. Man, we gotta step up. Simple as that. There's too many men nowadays who, again, back to my last point, who act very feminine, hyper emotional, lack of self-control, no discipline, no morals, no values. And I can tell you that is a one-way ticket to your demise as a man. It is. As a man, it is important that you develop good habits early in life. It is important that you establish strong morals and values, good morals and values that propel you into manhood. Of course, that's easier when you have a father, or at least a male figure, who is good enough to be that. But even if you don't have that as a man, you know, it gets to a point where you have to take control into your hands, you know. Yes, I had my father growing up, but I'm 23 years old now. I'm at a point where I know right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? I can't blame my dad if I mess something up, or if I do something wrong. You get what I'm saying? I just believe that as men, we need to do a better job of knowing what's right and what's wrong. A lot of men just have that line blurred, and they think it's a battle royale out here. Just do whatever you want, face the consequences later. And that's dumb. That's extremely stupid. stupidity. Like that is just, I don't even have words to fathom for that. Like, if you're out here just doing things without the mindset that there are repercussions for certain behaviors, I really feel bad for you, because that is a terrible way to live. Man, we have to do a better job at treating women right. Unfortunately, we live in a society now where women feel so just afraid to live. And I don't think that's good in any way. And there's a lot of guys out there that, try to say, oh, it's a myth, they're just scared, and the statistics show that these things don't happen. But although I get that, because yes, the statistics do show a man is more likely to die or deal with anything violent than a woman is, but it's not about the percentage of the chance of it happening. It's about the percentage of the chance of something deadly happening. And what I mean by that is, statistics say if I go walk down the block right now, I'm more likely to face a dangerous threat than a woman. That's what statistics say. But that's not the key here. The key here is that if I go walk down the block and some dudes press me, I have a far better chance of getting out of that situation alive than a woman does. Because unfortunately, women are just they're inferior to men physically. And because of that, if a woman encounters a man trying to put himself on her, rape her, assault her, whatever, her chances of getting out of that are almost zero. As a man, you have a much higher chance. It may not be a high chance, but you have a much higher chance to get out of that alive, or at least in good enough condition to see another day. And I think that's the reality that a lot of people need to understand, is that I think when these women have this fear, this innate fear of just living out in the world, it's not so much about how much it happens, it's about when it happens. And the bottom line is, it shouldn't happen at all. It really shouldn't. It shouldn't happen at all. I wish we lived in a world where rape doesn't happen, domestic violence doesn't happen, all these just putrid, hateful things happen. I wish we didn't live in a world where these things happen, but unfortunately we do. And that brings me to the point of women, you got to do a better job of protecting yourselves. And I know a lot of you gonna, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. Yes, I said it. You guys have to do a better job. I see far too many women nowadays just exposing themselves. And what I mean by that, you go on Instagram and you scroll through your Explore page, 80% of it is women half naked. I get it. You guys want to feel liberated. You have all these freedoms. You want to show yourself off. But it's not in your best interest. And regardless of how you think regardless of the perspective you think you're giving off from doing it, it's not reality. And I think a lot of women need to realize that reality and their perspective oftentimes do not correlate. And that's the issue. I think as women, you guys have to understand that I get you want to feel liberated, you want to feel free, you want to feel like you have power, but we live in a very evil world, and there are very evil, sick-minded individuals out in this world. And if you put yourself in a position to attract these sick-minded people, at that point it's kind of like, you did it to yourself, and it's hard to feel bad for you. It is. And I know a lot of women are going to say, well, I can be fully clothed and not show any skin, and men are still going to hit at me. And yes, I understand that is the reality. But you lower your chances of dealing with a sicko when you do that, versus if you go outside and your butt's out, your boobs out, stomach's out, thighs out. It's almost like, if you put a piece of steak in front of a dog, what is it going to do? It's going to be real hard to restrain that dog unless it has good training. And as we know, a lot of men in this world don't have good training, don't have good self-control. And because of that, it's like you're going to wave that steak in front of its nose, and then get mad or feel a type of way when it lunges at it and tries to get it. You get what I'm saying? Even a dog that's well trained, if you wave a steak in front of its nose, the temptation is going to be there. It's going to want to grab that steak. But because it's disciplined and it's been trained, it knows better. And that's what you have to realize, women, is that you attract what you give out. You know, attraction works both ways. If you're going to be promiscuous and lack modesty, you're going to attract men who lack discipline and lack respect. Simple as that. But, you know, you can take my advice, you cannot take it. At the end of the day, reality is reality, and everybody has to hold themselves accountable. That's really what it comes down to in today's dating culture, is accountability. Everybody wants to point a finger. Oh, this is why I do this and this is why I do that. You know, everybody cheats and everybody fornicates and acts in adultery. And I'll say this, if you're a grown man or woman in a relationship and you cheat, you're scum. You're scum. Because at that point, it's like, what is the point? Why cheat on someone who you know loves you and cares about you when you can just be single, do what you want, and hurt nobody? Why? I don't understand that concept. It's never crossed my mind in any of my relationships to cheat on any of the women I've been with. Because in my mind, it's just like, if I wanted to be with other people, do these things with other people, I would just be single so I can do it without the repercussions of hearing somebody yell at me or be mad at me or having to fix things, you know? What's the point? If I'm in a relationship, I only want to be with that person. And I get it. Monogamy is for everybody, not for everybody. If monogamy is not for you, try polygamy. Am I for polygamy? Not really. But hey, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. But if you know one person is not good enough for you, don't get with someone who is monogamous and wants one person to deal with them, because you're just doing them a disservice at that point. That's a slap in the face to them. It's not fair to them, you know? But I'd say the three main things that today's dating culture lacks is accountability, respect, and empathy. Actually, scratch that. Take empathy out, communication. Those three things are what today's dating culture is lacking. And I have plans in the future to fix that. Hopefully this world holds up long enough for me to even be able to do some of these things. But those are the three things I think today's dating culture needs to be revived, especially within the Black community. You know, it's so sad to see the statistics that say Black women are not only some of the most unhappy people in the world, group of people in the world, but you guys are also the most undesirable people in the world. Like, nobody's marrying you guys, and that's sad. But it goes to show that what you guys are doing is not working. You may feel liberated and free and feel like you have all this power and you're doing what you want to do, but at the end of the day, you're not happy and it's not working for you. So women, primarily my Black women, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board and find a new way of doing things. I'm not saying everything needs to change, but there are some things you guys definitely need to work on, and vice versa. Men, we also need to go back to the drawing board, and we need to kind of get back to the values and the morals that we had at one point in time. Have men ever been perfect? No, we never will be. Nobody's ever been perfect or will be perfect. But at least there was a point in time where men actually had strong morals and values. They knew what hard work was. They knew what providing and protecting actually meant. And I think a lot of men these days just lack it tremendously. And it's sad. And I want to see a change, man. I really do. But, you know, I always say the best way to lead is by example. And, you know, that's what I try to do in my everyday life. You know, I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people come to me for advice on just life in general, because I pride myself on finding the most efficient and effective way to be a human. I pride myself on that because it's not easy. It's not easy living in this world, especially as a Black man. It's not easy at all. You know, living your whole life with a target on your back, it gets overwhelming sometimes, you know. Makes you feel like you're this small and like you don't matter. And this is why we have a lot of Black men who don't go to therapy and don't express themselves and bottle up so much emotion. And unfortunately, generally speaking, the way men output emotion whenever they don't healthily deal with it is through anger. And that's unfortunate because it causes issues like crime, the crime that we have amongst each other, domestic violence, rape, all these sick, sadistic things. But, you know, we got to come together as a people, man, at the end of the day. If we want today's dating culture and just our lives in general to be better, we have to come together as a people and help each other work on these things that we are so lacking in nowadays. We have to. It's mandatory. There's no way around it. But I think I'm going to wrap the video up there. I will be dropping another video Wednesday. I'm going to come up with a topic. It's probably going to be a reaction video to something. I don't know. I'm going to go on Instagram, get some feedback from my followers. Again, I'm going to link my Instagram in the description. So if you want to follow me and you want to interact and you want to get in on the votes and the polls and stuff on what you want to see next, follow me. I'll try my best to follow everybody back if you do follow me. And yeah, go ahead and give this video a like. You know, subscribe, turn on notification bells. Shalom, brothers and sisters, and thank you for watching.